Imagine someone handed you a suitcase filled with cash. Not 100 pounds, not 1,000 pounds, but millions. Sounds like a dream, right? Now imagine you can't spend any of it. You can't put it in the bank. You can't buy a house. You can't even explain where it came from. Suddenly, that mountain of cash becomes a huge problem. So here's the real question. How does dirty money become money that looks completely legal? Every year, criminals generate enormous amounts of illegal money around the world. But cash from crime has one major weakness. It leaves questions. And questions attract attention. So if dirty money can't be spent easily, how does it eventually become money that appears legitimate? Experts usually describe this process in three broad stages. Think of them as three chapters in the same story. Not a magic trick, and definitely not an overnight transformation. Stage 1. Entering the financial system. The first challenge is simple. Cash sitting in a suitcase has very little value. You can't easily use huge amounts of unexplained cash in everyday life without attracting attention. So the first goal is to move money into the financial system. Not to make it legal, just to make it part of the financial world. That's why financial institutions have systems designed to identify unusual or suspicious activity. The idea is simple. The earlier suspicious money is detected, the harder it becomes to move any further. Stage 2. Making the trail harder to follow. Now imagine dropping a single drop of ink into a huge bucket of water. At first, you know exactly where it landed. But after enough movement, finding that exact drop becomes much harder. That's a simple way to understand the second stage. The objective isn't to change what the money is, it's to make its path more difficult to trace. Investigators don't just follow money, they follow record. So here's the question. If you've never committed a crime, and you'll never be involved in money laundering, why should you care? The answer is surprisingly simple. Because dirty money doesn't exist in a separate economy. It eventually tries to enter the same financial system that all of us use. The same banks, the same businesses, the same economy. When large amounts of criminal money flow through an economy, it can damage trust. It can distort competition, and it can make financial crime much harder to detect. That's one reason why governments and financial institutions invest heavily in monitoring unusual financial activity. Not because every transaction is suspicious, but because trust is one of the most valuable assets any financial system has. The biggest myth. There's another myth worth